Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are watching this, thank you so very much. My name is Paige, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the founder of The Purposeful Penny, which is a personal finance and lifestyle blog that is really targeted towards helping millennials, young married couples, young professionals kind of navigate the muddy waters of personal finance, because let's just be honest, it ain't easy. We all know that, okay? I knew that I wanted to make video kind of a big component of what I do with you guys and how I interact with you guys, and a big part of my blog. And so I gave a lot of thought into what I wanted my first video to be. And honestly, I came up with a bunch of topics, but I kept really just coming back to, well, why don't you just share your story? I mean, why don't you just tell them your story, where you came from, who you are, your background? And so that's what I want to do today in this video, because ultimately I want to get to know you guys, but at the same time, I want you to get to know me as well. So I figure I'll just share my story with you guys today, and let's just get into it. So my story as it relates to starting The Purposeful Penny really began after I graduated from college. When I was walking across the graduation stage, had $40,000 of student loan debt. Even just like saying it now, I'm just like, ugh, you know what I mean? But here's the thing, at the time, I did not feel that way, because at the time I was just a stupid, naive 22-year-old who had never managed money in her entire life. Like at that point in time, I don't think I'd ever had more than $100 in my bank account at any given point in time. And then I got sent off out into the real world with $40,000 of student loan debt. Like, if that's not a recipe for disaster, I don't know what is. The worst part about the whole situation is that my mindset on it was completely screwed. I mean, I thought that student loan debt was normal. It was not a big deal. Everybody had it. I was just going to pay it off when I paid it off. I would deal with it when I dealt with it. And you guys, honestly, I mean, for those of you working to get out of debt right now, or just trying to get your financial life in order, I would hope that you would realize that really no debt is good debt, right? Like, not even student loan debt. I mean, you need to get rid of it like yesterday. So I started my first job, and I showed up on my first day of work, and my manager kind of walked me over to this guy, and he was like, okay, he's going to show you around, he's going to train you, he's going to show you the ropes. Well, don't you know, that guy was my husband, Ryan. At the time, obviously, I didn't know he was going to be my husband, but the good thing is that I met Ryan at that point in my life, and he came into my life at that point, because pretty much from the day that we met, we were like inseparable. I mean, and I'm not gonna get all cheesy and corny, like that's not what this is about, but all that to say is that him and I knew very early on after meeting each other that like this was gonna be it for both of us. But with that, you have to have a lot of serious conversations early on, right? Like, you have to have like, where are we gonna live, and make all your plans. Well, part of that is combining your finances, right? Or at least talking about your finances so that you know what the heck is going on with the other person's finances, right? We were just at lunch one day, just like a normal day, and we were sitting there, and I was like eating a salad, and all of a sudden Ryan just like, boom, he just like put it out there and just like dropped, it was just like a bomb. And he was like, so, do you have any debt? You guys, up until this point, I really seriously thought that Ryan would break up with me if he found out how much debt I had, because, side note, he's 2 years older than me, and so when I met him, he seemed just like so much more mature and put together, and like he had his life together than I did, being like this naive little 22-year-old, and I really did think, I seriously thought that when he found out I had $40,000 of debt, he would dump me. Well, turns out that once I told him that I had $40,000 of student loan debt, he informed me that he had even more debt than I had of student loan debt and credit card debt. So, that was kind of like one of those things where like when he told me, I was like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? But like at the same time, you're kind of sitting there, and then you kind of start doing the math in your head and adding it up between the two of you, and you're just like, holy guacamole, this is a lot of debt. So when we totaled it all up, all together, like the whole enchilada, it was $98,000 worth of debt. Yeah. So like imagine me, I'm like just in this like restaurant, I'm like eating this like amazing delicious salad, and then all of a sudden like we go from like just having like this light cheery conversation one moment, and then the next moment I'm sitting there thinking to myself like, what the heck are we gonna do? The good part about that situation was that it really changed my mindset. It changed my mindset from my student loans not being a big deal and I was just going to deal with them when I dealt with them to, okay, like, here's this person that I really love and I really care about and we want to start our lives together, but we have $98,000 worth of debt. From that day on, both Ryan and I were very determined that we were going to get our debt paid off. And we basically said to each other, like, we are not going to be those people who are 60 years old and still paying off their student loans. You know what I mean? Like, you do like the 30-year repayment plan, and like by the time it's all said and done, you end up paying more interest than like the original loan was even worth. I mean, it's ridiculous. Over the next couple of weeks, we really came up with a plan of how we were going to get out of debt and how long it was going to take us. And so basically what we determined was that by the time that Ryan turned 30, and again, he was 24 at this point in time, so in 6 years, we were going to have all this debt paid off. I know you're sitting there and kind of doing the math, and you're like, okay, 6 years, you know, 98,000 divided by 6 years, like, that's really not that. I mean, it's in between $15,000 and $20,000 a year, right? Between two incomes and two people who are working full time, it's totally doable. Well, the other thing is that Ryan and I had a lot of other things that we wanted to do, and a lot of other goals that we wanted to accomplish. Like, you know, we wanted to get married. Imagine that. And we wanted to go on a honeymoon. And I had always known that I wanted to get my MBA. And so I was like, well, I want to get my MBA. We also knew that we wanted to buy a house. And so the reason we set 6 years for ourselves is because we knew that it really was going to take us 6 years to not only pay off our debt, but to accomplish all these other things as well. We worked really, really hard on these goals. We made a budget every month. We stuck to our budget. We didn't have a lot of like extras, so to speak, in our life. I never really bought new clothes, neither did Ryan. The only time we ever really traveled is when we went to weddings that we were like standing in, because we're like at that point in our lives where like everybody is getting married. We made a lot of sacrifices, and over that 6-year period, we were also able to do all those other things that I just talked about. I was able to cash flow my MBA. I did my MBA in 2 years. We were able to get married. We pretty much had to pay for, you know, most of our wedding on our own. We had to pay for 100% of our honeymoon. So we were able to save and do both of those things. And then lastly, we were able to buy a house. We didn't pay cash for the whole house. I mean, we saved up a down payment and basically the money that it took to cover all the closing costs. And so between all those things and then paying off our debt, it took us 5.5 years. So we were actually able to accomplish our goal 5 months early. So Ryan turned 30 last May, and last December, we were able to pay off all of our debt. We paid off our very, very last student loan. I remember Ryan was getting an end of year bonus, and we knew that the bonus was going to hit. So then that morning we woke up and we went downstairs, and, you know, I pulled up the bank account and I made sure everything had hit. And then we basically went in together to the student loan site, and we together pushed the submit payment button. We kind of just looked at each other like, is that it? Like, are we done? It really was a surreal feeling. But I have to say, at the same time, it really did take a couple months for the reality of the fact that we were debt-free outside of our house to sink in. And kind of life goes on, right? I mean, that was in December, and, you know, Christmas kind of rolled around, and then winter in Michigan rolls around, which, for those of you who live in the north, you just know that, January and February and March are just, the best months of the whole year. But, you know, it kind of got to March, and I think I had a little bit of, the winter blues. You just kind of get to a point where you're like, it cannot snow anymore. It can't be gray anymore. I need to see the sunlight. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Maybe it did. But I was sitting there one day, and I was kind of just feeling down, and I really kind of got to a point where I told Ryan, I was like, I just feel like I don't have much purpose in my life anymore. I feel like we had this huge goal that we worked towards and we accomplished it, and that's great. But now that we've done it and we've accomplished it, now what do we do? We were obviously saving up money to save up for like a rainy day fund, but to me, there's like a big difference between like trying to like climb to get out of debt and saving money. Like there's just something about getting out of debt that just requires a lot of like discipline and willpower and grit and sacrifice. When you're in it, it absolutely sucks, but I'm telling you, once you're out of it, like it feels great, but then you kind of look around and you're just like, okay, like what do we do now? I told Ryan, I'm like, I really feel like I could help people with our story. Like I feel like I could share my story with people, give people all the tips and the tricks and the lessons that we've learned along the way. Like I just feel like I have so much to say, and there's so many people out there that need help. It's like, who knows who's even gonna listen or go to the blog or anything like that. But even if I could just help like a couple people, like that would be so rewarding to me. And I actually gave serious thought to like quitting my job. I work in the automotive industry right now. Like I gave serious thought to quitting my job, becoming like a CFP, certified financial planner. I thought about like leading an FPU class, which is Dave Ramsey's class. It's Financial Peace University. I thought about doing that. But honestly, I was just sitting there one day and it really felt like God was kind of talking to me. And all of a sudden this idea like popped in my head. He's like, why don't you just start a blog? Just start a blog. Just do it. I mean, it's yours. You'll have complete control over it. You can write and talk about whatever the heck you want. You don't need any certifications. You don't need any training. Like, just go do it. So I thought, why didn't I think of that sooner? Ultimately, you guys, I really want to talk about anything and everything related to personal finance with you guys. Whether you're trying to save up an emergency fund right now or your rainy day fund, whether you are trying to literally crawl out of $200,000 of student loan debt from medical school or law school, whether you're just starting to save for retirement and you really have no idea what to do, or you're trying to start an investment portfolio, if you're in college or you're wanting to go back to grad school and you're wondering like, how can I afford it? How can I make this work? Or even if you're just trying to manage finances with your spouse or your significant other so that you guys literally don't murder each other like while the other person's sleeping. Those are the kind of things I want to talk to you about. I just want to cover like real life things that young people in their 20s and 30s who are single or married or in a relationship or not in a relationship, like it doesn't matter. I just want to talk about all of the things that are affecting, people like me and people like you today when it comes to our finances. It's something that I think is so, so important. It's something that I think that people honestly don't talk about enough. It shouldn't be like this taboo thing that nobody ever talks about. And so that's what I want to do. That's why I'm starting this blog. I really, really, really want to help you guys. And ultimately, I want to get to know you guys. So here's what I want you to do if you've made it to this point in the video, which if you have, thank you, first of all. Okay, so first of all, comment below and just introduce yourself. I want to get to know you. I want to know who you are, where you're from, how old you are, where you are in your financial journey. Are you paying off debt? Are you saving up money? Just let me know where you're at. Secondly, just comment and let me know topics that you would want me to talk about. And then lastly, I would love it and be so honored if you would subscribe to my channel so that every time I post a video, you guys can get updated on any new posts that I make. My goal is to post 1 to 2 videos a week. I will be honest with you guys, they're not going to be as long as this video. I'm going to try to keep my weekly videos like down to like 5 minutes or shorter. So make sure you subscribe, like this video if you've enjoyed hearing my story. I would love to hear yours. And guys, honestly, I am so, so excited for you to follow along on this journey with me. And I'm excited to follow along with you. So until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.